Hey, they're one of the biggest pop stars in the world in their day, and they're back now. The Backstreet Boys. We had them on the show this morning.
From what I understand, this town, our town, Boston, has a special meaning for you. Isn't that true?
Yeah,
The intervention was here and all that?
Yeah, this was where everything went down in 2001. I forgot the hotel we were staying at, but yeah, this is where I left and went to Sierra Tucson in Tucson, Arizona. This is where Kevin did the whole intervention. I forgot where we were supposed to do the softball thing the following day that I ended up not doing. Was that over at Fenway? Or where was that?
Probably Boston Common.
Yeah, well, we were supposed to do the national anthem that morning,
Right.
and then that's when he was
So
no-show.
an intervention is heavy enough, but when you're a public person and there's an intervention, it's in all the papers. That just seems overwhelming to me.
Well, we had, the fellas had a little powwow before I came to the hotel room where they were at after the intervention, when I had made the conscious decision to actually go to rehab, and they had tossed around the idea of, like, as far as the tour goes and with fans and with media, maybe AJ broke his leg or he couldn't perform, and we all, made the conscious decision to just be honest with it, and the guys were on the next flight out the following day to go do TRL and make the official announcement, and I would
get out anyway.
Of course, I mean,
get out, then it would be worse.
You tell one lie, and you have to tell 100 to get out of it.
How did it go? Because we see all the stories now of rehab, Lindsay Lohan and others, that it doesn't work so well for a lot of folks.
Well, I mean,
depends on the way you look at it, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, and honestly, I mean, I relapsed about a year and a half into my sobriety, and now I'll be 5 years sober in October.
Wow.
And the studio goes wild.
Wow. That's the applause line if you're at the Regis show. Oh, isn't that great?
I think if you don't really work a program at all, and you just accept and think that you've got it all figured out, the minute you stop giving thanks to the right person first and foremost, which is the big man upstairs, and then the rest is up to you. The minute you start taking full credit for being sober is when you get cocky and you get big-headed and you get, arrogant about it, and then you end up relapsing. You're like, well, you know what? I've been sober for 3 months. I've done it. Now that I haven't had a drink for 3 months, I can drink, now casually, and you really can't. And I know for myself, I can't even have a drink because I'll end up.
I think that's the hardest thing for people to understand about alcoholism in general, is that you can't. Why can't you have a glass of wine with dinner? But you really can't. I mean, it's just the way you're wired.
I could have a glass of wine at dinner, and then the following day I'd be like, well, you know what? I had one glass tonight. I'm going to have 2 or 3. And then you get to the point where you want to get that buzz back, and then it'll be the whole bottle. Wow. And I just, my life was unmanageable then, and my life is much more manageable now, and I'm a lot more responsible. I'm a lot more on point. I'm on top of my game, and I feel better. I think
the studio goes wild.
Yes, you got to get one of those.
Brian, let me ask you. So Brian, is he easier to deal with?
We're going to sample Brian. And the studio goes wild.
Yeah.
Well, when you can look in AJ's eyes now, you can tell that he's there.
Mm-hmm. He didn't used to be there.
No, years ago there was this mask that was, trying to find himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a young man. He's not quite 30s.
I'm getting there.
You're a baby.
I'm getting there.
But we're very, very proud of him for really taking the bull by the horns and stepping up. And I think he's learned a lot about himself and a lot about.
Were there times though when you had rehearsals or whatnot and he didn't show that kind of thing?
Oh yeah.
A lot of where's AJ? Is that like a relief when you had a concert? Well, AJ's here, thank God. Now we can get ready.
Well, there was kind of like a pre-intervention that happened in Orlando before we ever got to Boston.
At my house.
At AJ's house in Orlando, and we were at rehearsals for 3 or 4 days, and AJ was a no-show. And that's when we started questioning what he was doing and finding out that he was going out at night, and he had time to do his personal stuff, but he wasn't working, and it was affecting the job, and so. We went and, broke the law and broke into his house and had some sort of small little intervention there. And then, kind of thought he was back on track and had a counselor come out with us on tour and be with him and, chaperone him.
So this was no joke. This was heavy duty.
This was a real thing. I mean, we care about each other. We've been together for almost 15 years now. And, this is who we are. The entertainment business is what we thrive and thirst for. And or we wouldn't be doing it this long. I mean, we love making music.
I hit it really well. So. I really did. I mean, or as good
until
as
you got to the point where you didn't hide it.
Well, we ended up out of nowhere. We ended up having random drug testing on the actual tour, and
is that your idea?
Studio goes wild.
And
I was mad,
and
I was
was
upset because they're wasting my time if you're gonna go screw off with your life.
Exactly.
I don't need to waste my time.
Smart.
So.
Let's go right from that. So for 4 or 5 years, it was huge, and then we haven't heard a lot from the Backstreet Boys in the last several years. So where has it been? Would you take time off and come back? Were there debates?
Well, we had after we finished up the Black and Blue tour, and I went to rehab, and then we had time
So that was
off.
what year was that?
That was 2001.
2001.
Yeah,
okay.
we wrapped things up in November of 2001, and we took what was supposed to be a year off and became 2, and then 3, and then in the middle of our 4th year started writing again and started getting back in the studio. Brian had ample time to start a family. He had, him and his wife had their son Bailey.
Yeah, my wife did. I did.
Yeah, well, right. Yeah. But
yeah, that'll take up some time.
Yes, it will.
See, I would want to be working then because you're home. You got to do all that stuff.
Come on.
Well, I'm a very 50s dad. All right, I'm going to the office.
Yeah,
Baby's crying. I'm going to work.
I'm the new age. If you're gonna have kids, you're gonna be a parent. So we don't have nannies and all that stuff. Everybody looks at me like we have a staff of 12 because you make a lot of money in the music world, but that's not the case.
There's just him and Leanne, and that's it.
What I want to do.
Good.
And then we shortly after that we did Never Gone, which was released in 2005, which considering the long hiatus, we still went triple platinum with the record, and it was, we all thought it was a really great success considering we were gone for so long. To come back into this market with everything that had changed so drastically with the whole music industry. For us to come back, we had, our dedicated fans, and we got some new fans. Our fans had gotten older and changed. They had families of their own now.
Yeah.
And now, since Never Gone, it's been just around 2 years since we released Never Gone, and now we're releasing Unbreakable on October
But we've been
30th.
recording for over a year, so it's...
When you guys were at your peak, there were a lot of quote-unquote boy bands, NSYNC and O-Town and 98 Degrees and...
The list goes on.
Yeah, and that sound you don't hear much anymore. So
And
with
the
the new...
studio goes well.
So the new album, is it Backstreet Boys vintage, or is it more kind of a different kind of sound?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a nice blend between, in my opinion, it's kind of a blend between the Millennium record and Black and Blue, in the sense of, but with a today's sound and with all of our personal influences as far as music goes. I think when you hear this record, you're going to immediately know, okay, Backstreet Boys. Just like with the first single, the minute you hear Nick start the song and then it goes into Brian, it's like, okay, this is the Backstreet Boys.
Right.
This is what we're known for.
It is fantastic to see the Backstreet Boys back. Tomorrow on the show, Buddy Holly and the Crickets.
Empty spaces fill me up with hope.